zones. But anyway, so Tyler, I am so happy that you have come back. You've joined me again on my weekly travel chat. Last time we highlighted the Canadian Rocky routes, which we're going to touch on a little again. Should anyone want any information, we're more than happy to share it with you. But today, I think the main focus is going to be the brand new routes out of Colorado and Utah. They just sound fascinating. It's something a little different from Rocky Mountaineer.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me back, Lisa. It's always a pleasure. I feel like I'm on a TV talk show, Travel with Lisa. But yeah, it's great to be back and great to be talking about, we're getting close to the idea of traveling in Canada. Already in the States, things are happening, and that's what's really exciting about this new U.S. route, Rockies to the Red Rocks. It's brand spanking new. So this is all new information for everyone, even for me. I haven't been down there. I haven't been on the train, so I'm just as excited as everyone else to experience this coming in August. So I'm the information I'm giving out today, a lot can change and a lot can happen in the next few months. But yeah, just to give you an idea of what we have in store for later on this year.
Okay, so with that said, I'm going to give you control of the presentation, and you'll share.
Perfect. Moving over to presenter mode. Even if you've done these Zoom things, 100 times, it still takes a little bit to get it going. So hopefully that's showing the screen, Lisa?
Yes, yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, we've already done the introductions with you and myself, but I will introduce officially the Rockies to the Red Rocks. So look at that amazing scenery, an extraordinary way to see an extraordinary place. And I kind of feel like this is a part of the U.S. that sometimes is a little bit overlooked, but it is such a unique territory in the geography and the culture, the people, the history, everything about it is just a little bit different than what you'll find, on the East Coast or on the far West Coast. So it's a really fascinating route and area to highlight a little bit more. But obviously, what we love about it is we've been doing the luxury train experience for 30 years. So we do have a ton of experience in this landscape, but this is just something a little bit new, a little bit different. We're taking everything we know from traveling in those amazing landscapes of the Pacific Northwest in BC and Alberta, and now we're just taking that luxury train experience and moving it down south. A lot of the same things. I mean, we can still call it the Rocky Mountaineer because you will be still traveling through the Rockies, just a different side of them. So this will be a bit of a learning experience. It will give you a different outlook on it. Even if you've done the Canadian routes, I can promise you absolutely the geography, the wildlife, the terrains are going to be different, but even the onboard experience is a little different because we like to do everything super local, super seasonal. So we'll get into all that. And I'm going to be very brave here and actually try to play a video because let's just all take a look and
extraordinary place deserves an extraordinary way to see it. Our newest route, Rockies to the Red Rocks, brings 30 years of Rocky Mountaineer's world-class service to the stunning desert vistas of the American Southwest. Traveling from the vibrant Denver, Colorado, past some of nature's wonders, vast canyons, chromatic deserts, and panoramic views, to the mesmerizing red rock landscapes that twist through the bright blue sky. It's rail travel at its best. After all, if you're going to see an extraordinary place, you want an extraordinary way to see it.
So that pretty much says it all. I can tell you there's a little bit of trick photography in there because we haven't launched the route yet. Yes, that's true. Those train shots were not from down south quite yet. So we had some Hollywood magic in there to make it look seamless. But hopefully you got a great idea of just where the train will be operating and sort of the vibe, the experience that you can look forward to. We like to say good things come in threes. So as mentioned in the video, the three highlights of the route, now a little bit different than the Canadian routes where we have three of them. For our preview season, we just have the one route, but it combines Denver, Colorado in the east, Glenwood Springs, Colorado as your intermediary stopping point overnight, and then Moab, Utah in the west. And the pictures really do, I think they really do it justice, same as the videos. It's just an amazing landscape, beautiful vistas, such a variety of terrains and the topography, the weather. It's completely different than what you get up in the Canadian routes, but a lot of similarities as well. So just so you can see the overview of where the train actually is operating, it is a 2-day train journey with the overnight in Glenwood Springs. And similar to the Canadian routes, you can do it in either direction. So if you're coming from the eastern part of North America, you might look at starting in Denver. Whereas if you're in the West Coast, maybe you look at making your way to Moab, Utah. Now you're probably saying to yourself, Moab, I've never heard of this place. Can you even fly into there? And the answer is not really. They do have a small airport, but as you can see, the largest sort of in and out airports are the Las Vegas and Salt Lake City regions. So with that, we've really been able to sort of combine the guided coach tour and sightseeing aspect of the Southwest to combine with the 2-day rail journey, because we understand, similar to the Canadian routes, you're not going to fly all the way across the country, do the train for 2 days, and then go back home. So there's so much to see and do. We have everything up to about 9 days, and there's so many options. It's really a choose your own adventure. And the great thing about Moab, if you haven't learned much about it in the past, is it's really that jumping off point, the gateway to all those amazing national parks and canyons like Bryce Canyon, Zion National Park. And then of course, you can really combine the outdoors adventuring with the big city glitz and glamour of Las Vegas. So there's tons of packages where you can combine all of those different aspects. So there's no right or wrong way to do it. We always like to say with the Rocky Mountaineer, east to west, west to east, you'll get to see it all, but depending on where you're coming from, it just might influence your decision on where you want to start and stop. So seeing as I'm in Toronto here with Lisa on the eastern part of North America, let's start off in Denver. Let's imagine you're going to the Mile High City. So you're getting the Rockies right there. It's super accessible for flights, but we'll talk about the destinations a little bit more. Just want to wrap your head around what the train journey is going to look like. Drastic differences from what you're going to see on day one versus day two. So similar to the Canadian routes, it's roughly an 8-hour journey, going at that leisurely 30-mile-an-hour pace or so. A lot of winding trails going around canyons and creeks and things like that. And then eventually you do end up in Glenwood Springs for your overnight. So just like you would expect from the Canadian routes, you can kind of think of Glenwood Springs almost like a Banff type destination. It's very outdoorsy, very resort-like. It has the hot springs, so there's a lot to see and do. It's very walkable, great all season round. So let's look at some of the highlights from your first day leaving Denver Central Station right from downtown. So super accessible. You board the train for breakfast and then we get going. This is Red Canyon. As you can see, some of the landscapes and vistas you're going to have on Rockies to the Red Rocks are just so wide open. You can literally see for miles. And there's going to be such a difference going from, the Mile High City where you're getting the top of these Rockies and canyons and then weaving in and out, getting to the desert land. So much change in elevation, so much change in scenery. The wildlife is completely different than what you'd sort of be expecting up in Canada. So for nature lovers, it's a great experience there. But, it's not all dry desert desert canyons. We do have some beautiful lakes and rivers and creeks as well. There you see the Gross Reservoir Dam and Byers Canyon. And this is another sort of engineering marvel. So you're not quite going through the Rockies like you do in the Canadian routes. You're more weaving and going around them, but some beautiful vistas and scenery there as well. This was Gross Reservoir Dam dates back to the 1950s, and this is really that sort of going through the continental divide. So it's a really interesting part of that landscape in the Southwest. So for any geography buffs, or if you're really into the tectonic plates and how the Southwest U.S. is sort of put together, you know, this really highlights that, and you get really up close and personal on it as well. So then finishing off in Glenwood Springs, you have your overnight, great restaurant, super walkable, trendy little downtown, but it's a great gateway to outdoors activity, whitewater rafting. It's a year-round destination. So might be an area you want to double back to, but you have your overnight there at a luxury hotel. And then day two, you start it all over again, boarding the train, breakfast on the train. Now, between Glenwood Springs and Moab, you are going to get the best of both worlds here, because you're still in Colorado. So you're still going to get a lot of that majestic nature of the Rockies, but there will be a very distinct changeover kind of around here. Once you pass Mount Garfield and the Book Cliffs, and then get into Ruby Canyon. You're going to see, you won't need a sign to tell you you have reached Utah. You might, if you blink and you think you might actually be on Mars, because it's such a different terrain. And then the rest of the trip is going to bring you into Moab. And there's just such a change in the scenery and the geography there. This is actually only a half-day journey. So you're going to be getting into Moab around noon. So there's no lunch served on the train, just breakfast, but there will be snacks. There will still be your beverages, everything you know and love about Rocky Mountaineer. But let's take a look at some of those highlights from day two. This is Mount Garfield with the Book Cliffs, and this is named after the president, James A. Garfield. So a really stunning difference between some of these mountains ranges and what you've seen in the Canadian Rockies, and even closer to Denver or Colorado Springs. But it's such a unique sort of carving that's just happened over, you know, millions and millions of years. With the landscape and the geography coming to be what it is. It's very iconic to the region. And then you see the change moving from those Book Cliffs, just even the color to that, you know, they call it Ruby Canyons, the LaSalle Mountains. You've probably seen these in old Westerns, lots of TV shows, Deadwood. I mean, even if you haven't traveled there yourself, you're probably really familiar with a lot of these visuals. So the LaSalle mountain ranges, these span for hundreds and hundreds of miles. It's really, really epic. It's really open. And again, in terms of wildlife, in terms of the scenery that you're going to be seeing at various times of the year, there's just such a variety. We're starting the season in August, as the video mentioned, and already we've extended it going into mid-November. So a little bit different in that it's a later sort of travel season than what we normally do up in Canada. So there, it gives you a little bit of an idea of what you have in store, getting into Moab, and then really that's your jumping off point into all those amazing national parks. One thing I do want to mention about the Rockies to the Red Rocks route is that it is a Silverleaf only service level. So the reason behind that is because some of the tunnels and some of the bridges that we're actually traversing through are too low to accommodate our bi-level gold leaf dome. So it is an all-in-one service at your seat type situation here. So you can really set it and forget it. If you've done Silverleaf on the Canadian routes, then you know what you're in for, a really open and airy sort of social and interactive experience. But hey, everything is brought to you, which is really, really nice. As you can see, there's super large, expansive windows, lets in a ton of natural light. And really because of the terrains and vistas that you're going by, you really can see for miles. It's a lot more open than what you might have seen on those Canadian routes. Not as much lush forest. It's really open desert land for for a large portion of the journey. There you see inside though, Silverleaf is nothing to sneeze at. You're still going to have great food. And again, we like to be hyper local, super seasonal. So depending on whether you're traveling in August or if you're traveling in October, that menu could change a little bit, but we always like to highlight, you know, a lot of the local flair of where the train is actually traveling. And again, you know, you're going to get top-notch food, whether it's breakfast or lunch. And for those of you who are missing Gold Leaf and you really want that upgraded experience, I have good news for you. We are initiating Silver Leaf Plus. So what does that mean? It's an executive exclusive lounge car that is a $395 US upgrade per person. And this is sort of like cocktail hour on wheels, really, really cool experience. It's got lounge seating, upgraded bar and mixologist, an upgraded and elevated culinary experience as well. So if you want to have the best of both worlds, have service at your seat, but also still want to be able to walk around, stretch your legs, and break up the day a little bit more, Silverleaf Plus absolutely could be for you. Now, again, we've talked about where the train goes and what life is like when you're on the train. Let's talk about those destinations because they're so important to the region and putting together your Rocky Mountaineer itinerary. So let's talk about Denver, the big city, right in the mountains. Such a cool, fun, vibrant city. If you haven't been there before, it's really walkable. They have a really strong emphasis on local food, art, cuisine, breweries. It's, you know, sort of one of those brewery capitals of the territory for sure. So just one night in Denver is probably not going to do so much to see and do, but it's very easy to fly in or fly out of. Great day trips, great golfing from around there. Colorado Springs is just a couple hours away, which is another sort of can't miss area. But in terms of big city restaurants, nightlife, shopping, and then being able to do all that great wilderness outdoors stuff, Denver just has it in spades. Now, I did mention Glenwood Springs. This one's a little bit off the beaten path a bit. You're getting into God's country there, but another really quaint, walkable resort type town. I compare it a lot to Banff because I think it has a lot of similarities and just in terms of the amenities, the walkability, the outdoor lifestyle, everything that you're able to do in the city, out of the city, but very high end. Great hotels, great restaurants, very local. So a good spot. If you just want to hang out there and have some fun on the town, you can do it. If you want to go for a hike, if you want to go golfing, if you want to go up a mountain, you can absolutely do that as well. Glenwood Springs kind of has it all when it comes to the outdoor activities. And then Moab, you know, I haven't personally been there myself, but again, the pictures really do say it all. It's a very cool town, sort of out in the middle of the desert. It's not too far away if you're familiar with like the Sundance Festival. There's a lot of great history and heritage just on how a lot of Moab and the surrounding cities were sort of built up, a very strong tie to, you know, Salt Lake City and the industry there. But if you're a hiker, if you want to get out into the great outdoors, I mean, definitely bring some comfortable shoes, maybe a good walking stick, some sunscreen, because you're going to be spending a lot of time outdoors. There's not as much to see and do right in the city. Maybe equate that a little bit more to a Jasper in terms of the amenities. It's a little boutique-y though, really fun. You know, you're not going to have your big box stuff or your chain restaurants or anything like that. A little bit off the beaten path, but very cool. Definitely comes alive in the summer and in the fall for sure. And then for our hotels, I mean, you know, it is Rocky Mountaineer. We do have a certain reputation we need to live up to. So even if we can't do Gold Leaf on the train, we want to make sure that you're taken care of in your hotels. Look at some of these amazing views. You're going to have great weather all year round when you're traveling on the Rocky Mountaineer, on Rockies to the Red Rocks. So you might want to spend a little bit more time at some of these hotels. Here you see our hotel partners in Moab. So they're very, very different, one of a kind, even though they're by Hyatts or Hiltons. They really lean into that local cultural identity of the area, which is really, really nice. You're not going to get a cookie cutter hotel in Moab or in any of these destinations for sure. And as you can see in the rooms, you know, they spare no expense. Beautiful views, very, very comfortable, elegant. Anything that you can ask for, you will find it at your Moab hotels. Now, Glenwood Springs, getting more to the resort side of things, the hot springs, the Hotel Denver, the Hotel Colorado. I mean, these are very upgraded. This is where you're really going to see that gold leaf level come back. So again, you know, one night in Glenwood Springs, you might want to double back and spend a little bit more time here. But the really nice thing about this area is it's super walkable, but you do have that ability to get outside of the city and really connect with nature as well. So taking a look at some of the interior pics of the Hotel Denver, the Hot Springs Resort, and the Hotel Colorado. Now moving over to Denver, you have no shortage of hotel partners. So this was really interesting how we came to sort of find ones that really fit the route and fit the demographic and the experience that we were going for. Again, we wanted to do something really local, so not the big chains that you might be accustomed to. They are a little bit more boutique-y, but the Maven hotels, just like a beautiful downtown property. All of these, in fact, are walking distance from the Denver Union Station. The Crawford Hotel, as you can see, is actually located inside the train station there. So if you're not someone who wants to have to deal with coach transfers or an Uber or a taxi ride to get to your Rocky Mountaineer journey, the Crawford Hotel might be a perfect opportunity for that. And then the Oxford as well. You can see it is just down the street from the Union Station as well. So really local and specific to the Denver area, but an upgraded, elevated style, great, amazing views. That's Coors Field right there. So for any baseball fans, when you're traveling in that summer and fall season, hey, why not catch a game? There's so much to see and do in and around Denver. So with packages, what we're doing is something a little bit different than what you typically see with those Canadian routes. Because it's just the 1-2 day route, we're really leaning into the sightseeing aspect once you're off the train. There's so much that you can do, but starting with a shorter journey, 2 days on the train, 3 nights, and 4 days total. There you see 1 night in each destination, a really easy, accessible package, whether you're coming from the east, whether you're coming from the west. This highlights that train component and then leaves the rest up to you. But everything you sort of need in that 4-day, 3-night itinerary. Moving up to something a little bit longer, 5 nights and 6 days. This one focuses on a self-drive itinerary once you're in Moab, Utah. So again, you can do this in any direction, starting in Denver, or you could start in Salt Lake City with your flight and work your way down. This really allows you to choose your own adventure. You get 3 days of a rental car with the itinerary and passes to Canyonlands National Park, Dead Horse Point. So Arches National Park, you sort of using Moab as that jumping off point for your day trips there, and then finishing up with the Rocky Mountaineer 2-day experience, and then moving over to Denver. And then for those who want to just dive a little bit deeper into that luxury experience and really have it all, you're going to get 3 days of guided tours. You're going to get Arches National Park, Colorado River, Bryce Canyon, Zion National Park. So this is 6 nights, 7 days. This combines Las Vegas, so you might want to spend a couple extra days there as well, but it really does bring it to a fully all-inclusive type package. You don't have to worry about driving your own car. We take care of everything here. But after the train journey, you have 2 nights in Moab, 1 night in Bryce Canyon, and then a night in Las Vegas. So a really easy sort of flight in and flight out situation. We have anything from 2 days all the way up to 9 days. So really, the only limitation is your creativity and what you and your travel advisor want to come up with. This is what's so great about Rocky Mountaineer, whether you're doing the Canadian routes, whether you're doing the US routes, you definitely want to work with someone like Lisa, because as you can see, there's so many different options. There's so many different sightseeing tours. You can't be an expert on everything. So why not get someone to do it for you and make sure that it's right to your preferences and your tastes. And of course, hey, who doesn't love a good deal? Even though it's a brand new route, something shiny, new, and exciting, we do have a special promotion on. Since we extended the season, originally it was just going to be August 19th until October 24th, but now we're extending it another month into November. So, hey, if you're worried about vaccine rollouts or what the travel landscape is going to be like, and you want to do something a little bit later in the season, we absolutely have you covered. And hey, why not save a little bit in the process? You can save up to $300 US per couple. This offer is on until April 19th. So I think we still have a few days to take full advantage of that. So this is on those later dates for the 2021 season. We don't quite have the 2022 season out. I don't know if it's going to be August to November next year. We might start in the spring. We'll have to see. Lots of things up in the air right now. But the best thing about any of our promotions on the Canadian routes and the US route is that they are combinable with our fully enhanced flexible booking policy. So what that means is you can book with peace of mind, knowing that your deposit is fully refundable up to 30 days before travel. Sorry, this is an old slide, so that shouldn't say 30 days after booking. Everything is fully refundable up to 30 days before travel. You have 2 free date changes 30 days prior to travel as well. If you move your travel date to later in the season, that promotion will transfer with you. If you have a future travel credit from a Canadian route, you want to move it to a US route, yes, you can absolutely do that. So the customizability doesn't stop with just putting together your packages. It also comes into your booking as well. So please reach out to Lisa. She'll absolutely be able to help you put this together for 2021 or 2022. Maybe you want to do the Canadian routes this year, do the Rockies to the Red Rocks next year, or vice versa. There's no wrong way to do it. But I thank you so much for going on this journey with me. I'll pass it back to Lisa, see if we have any questions. And thanks again for going on this journey with me through the Rockies to the Red Rocks.
Well, thank you, Tyler. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I know myself, I am looking forward to the day that I get to do Rockies, the Rockies to Red Rocks. I am so looking forward to that. I have done the Rainforest to Gold Rush through the Canadian Rockies, and that was spectacular. I happen to have done it through Silverleaf, and I loved it. So I can only imagine how spectacular it's going to be on the US route. It's I can't wait for that day.
No, it's a good point, Lisa. The people who do Silverleaf and love it, they come back and do it every time because it's just such a different experience. And really, I don't even see Gold Leaf as a better or good, better, best type thing. It really depends on how you like to travel. If you are a little bit more social, a little bit more interactive, and want to really immerse yourself into the experience, then Silverleaf is a great option for that because it is all in one.
And I'll just add from a personal note that like photography was my first major. And I sat there in Silverleaf and I had no problems getting spectacular images while on the train. I'm glad I brought a spare memory card. I just took so many pictures, and I think it'll be the same thing and even more within the US because you're going to have all those vistas where the Canadian Rockies, you're taking in the majesty of the mountains and the valleys and the streams. I can just well imagine myself filling up another memory card with something totally different that the Southwest is offering.
This one is really going to offer, I think, a bit more of a 360 environment because with the Canadian routes, there are, like you said, certain iconic focal points that might be more to one side or the other. Whereas this one, you feel like you're really going through the middle of the territory. So whether you're looking out through the right or looking out through the left, there's going to be so much to see. It's wide open ranges. So you can't miss anything unless you close your eyes.
And I don't think I missed anything in Silverleaf when I did the Rainforest to Gold Rush. I mean, I was in my element. I loved it. There was the train cars are just so welcoming for photography. It was spectacular. It was absolutely spectacular. And if anyone has any questions, by all means, you can either unmute yourself or, jump in on the chat, and either Tyler or myself will be happy to answer. And if not, you can always reach out to me after. And if I can't answer it, I certainly will be in touch with Tyler. If there aren't any questions, I'll just add that, if you do follow me on Eventbrite, there are some more events coming up. In the near future, we'll be traveling to Egypt, Morocco, and a safari. And then I'll have a representative the week after from the tourism board in Jordan, followed by the tourism board from Japan. A couple of places that are near and dear to my heart. I've been there, and I can't wait to go back there as well. So if there aren't any questions.
Oh, Lisa, it looks like a question just came in through chat from Cindy. Okay. And it looks like she sent it, maybe it was just directed at me.
Okay,
Is this route pet friendly? Which is a great question. And truthfully, I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head, just because this is brand new and I don't know what the protocols and policies will be on that. So I can absolutely look into that. It's a great question. I know when there's anything to do with sort of guide dogs or anything like that, we have to be compliant with, well, in Canada, federal and provincial regulations. So that would be a good question for the U.S. route as well. I don't know if there would be any differences on that. So I can certainly look into that. And I'd imagine it might depend on what type of pet are we talking about? So, and maybe the size of the pet, because as you know, Lisa, on Silverleaf, there's ample space to bring a day bag or anything like that. So if you were bringing a dog or a cat in a pet carrier, I would imagine space-wise, it could be accommodated. We just have to see if within the policies and regulations, if that's something that is allowed.
Yeah, no, it is roomy. I'll give you that. It was, and there is a lot of room to be had on Silverleaf. Yes, but it is a good question. Yes, because different jurisdiction completely from what Rocky Mountaineer had been operating in. Good question. And if there's none other, again, you can always reach out to me after. And I want to thank everyone for taking the time for joining us this morning. Thank you again.
Thanks so much for having me, Lisa.
Thanks, Tyler. Anytime. I just love the train. It's so unique. Okay,
perfect. Well, we hope to see you and your clients on the Canadian routes or potentially the U.S. route later this year and in 2022.
I'm looking forward to it. Okay, take care.
Thanks, Tyler. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.